All right, I'm Ann Ladd, and I'm one of the transition team volunteers. There was a whole group of us that got together and worked on these debates. All of those that worked on the debates were non-candidates, and we've made every effort that we possibly could to be as impartial and fair as possible. To that end, we are really lucky to have Jared Floyd as our moderator. Jared has worked in journalism in Utah for over 20 years, and he has experience in print, television, and radio. He's currently the managing editor at Northern Utah Standard Examiner, which is located down in Ogden City. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to him.
All right. Good evening. So how are the mics doing? We were trying to adjust them. Sounds like we've had some problems with them. I'm hoping that if we can keep them pointed directional like this toward mouth, hopefully that we'll be able to get the words to you guys so you can hear them. But like I said earlier this evening before the mayor debate, many of you were probably here for that, but I really think this is a really challenging time for Ogden Valley. I've really enjoyed learning about the issues and the challenges and what's going on as this beautiful area takes this really big step. And like I said before, do I think it is going to be easy? Probably not. Do I think it's going to be worth it? Well, I hope so. And I'm really honored to be here this evening with our District 3 candidates, with Fred and with Kay, and getting a chance to hear them as they discuss their vision and kind of delve into how they plan to approach some of the tough challenges ahead. So before we get started, I'm going to go through the debate process again, just so you guys are aware of how we're going to approach this debate. Each candidate is going to start this evening with 2 minutes for an opening statement. And then after that, we will start asking questions. And each candidate will be given about 2 minutes to respond to each question, followed by an optional 1-minute response for each question. So that way, if something comes up, they think of something else, they'll have a chance to address it. After the candidates present their views on those questions, we'll move on to a few shorter questions where each candidate will just get a couple of minutes, but we won't have any rebuttal for those questions. I have crafted questions that I'll be asking this evening. Many of them are similar to what we've been talking about with the mayor candidates because the issues are the same across the board. So both Kay and Fred will have a chance to address a lot of the same things. After we answer as many questions as the time allows, we'll provide a few minutes at the conclusion of the debate for closing statements from each candidate. The first opening statement has been randomly assigned, following which we will alternate which candidate gets the first shot at each question, just in the name of fairness, giving each chance to be the first one to address each question. We do ask that those of you in the audience refrain from clapping or otherwise interrupting the speakers. This is their opportunity to tell you how they see the issues. So the more information they can share with you, the more informed you will be as a voter. So let's go ahead and get started. Kay, you were randomly assigned to go first, so please introduce yourself and provide an opening statement.
Thank you. I'm going to do a sound test first, and we'll start the sound at the time. I've been told to speak slowly, and is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really hard for me. We'll find that very hard. Okay, I'm Kay. You've seen the signs. Now you get to talk to the person. My background is I'm an Ogden girl, went to Ogden High, went to the U, and then went out of state for law school. A big leap, a lot of tears and falls home. To my mom. And you know what? We found another friend, John Anderson and I, are both from the U, killed it compared to all those Ivy League kids. So here for the U. I went into labor and employment law, something that was not a particular specialty at the University of Utah. And I practiced briefly in Seattle, and then I met Mr. Wonderful, Jim O'Brien, and moved to Chicago. Take my second bar. I very recently, in 2021, took my third bar. Not something fun, but worthwhile. Sharpened up the mental abilities a little bit more. And also did this for the sole purpose of volunteering on a pro bono basis in this community and elsewhere. So I cleared out the cobwebs and I'm ready to serve. I also, before then, I was a partner in a major law firm in Chicago. And is that 30 seconds? Really? Okay, it's a break. I was a partner, a business executive, big budgets, lots of negotiations. If I can negotiate against the Teamsters Union in Chicago, I think I can handle the county commissioners.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, your turn for a couple minutes to take the floor and your introduction for the open state.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Fred Bleakley. I'm going to start off here with a quote. This is from Jane Goodall, who left us just recently. One of her many excellent quotes. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference. And you have to decide the kind of difference you will make. I'm running because I want to make a difference in the valley. I love the valley. I came here 20 years ago. I became a full-time resident in 2019. And I think I have the skill set that can really help us here, particularly in this early times where we got to stand up on government and what I call Ogden Valley OVI 1.0. And then in the short term, we're going to have OVI 2.0, where we're running the government, and then Ogden Valley 3.0, when we're making some fine tuning and moving things in the direction we want to see it go in this beautiful valley that we love and we want to continue 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. The next generations is what we should be looking for. Outside the table, I have one of my little cards. There's a QR code on the back that takes you to my campaign site, tell you all about me, and as we go through the night here, you'll learn a little bit more. Yes.
Thank you, Fred. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the questions. And I'm going to start with some rapid questions, just like I did with the mayor today, because I wanted to give you guys a chance to get some of your perspective on some of the big issues that we're facing here in the Valley. And so the first question I have, and Fred, you can answer this one first. Whatever remains the election will play an important role in setting the tone for the new city. So I want to ask you what you view as being the biggest challenge that Ogden Valley City faces right now as you're taking this step.
Yeah, clearly it's OVI 1.0. We have set up a new government. You've heard all about that. It's going to happen fast. We might get much help from Weaver County. Be nice if we get, but we're not. So we're going through a lot of planning and setting things up. We have 5 committees. There's an IT committee. There's a public works committee. I chair that committee. There's a planning committee. Janet chairs that. Finance and added in, which I think Kate chairs. There's public safety. So, the 12 candidates or 11 candidates, there's one that's not participating. And some other volunteers, like I see Brown, he's been, king size of the finance stuff. We organize these committees, we're, on attack at things, getting it done. So that's going to be the first most important thing, that these committees succeed with what we're working on.
Thank you, Fred. Kate, your turn. Same question. Just what do you view as being the biggest challenge as you get rolling?
Sure. The biggest challenge is really starting out strong. What we do in the first 6 months, first year, will set the course for this city for at least the next decade. I was very fortunate to be asked to be on the transition team early on. Partly because my legal acumen, but partly because I work hard and turn in my assignments on time. I quickly focused on finance. I surprised myself and did well at corporate finance in law school, but also was used to financing big budgets in corporate America, and also that administration. my strong suit. I worked a lot with management teams everywhere from factory floor people all the way up to board of director presentations for Motorola. I really like the factory floor people a lot better. But that being said, I understand what it takes to set up a startup. I did it in corporate America, and we've been working hard. I've been working for about 2 years to get this started on the right foot. We are well on our way to bring people like Fred and others who've been part of the transition team. Thanks.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, also 1 minute to add or agree, disagree, whatever else you want to say about the topic.
Yeah, I'll just say Kay's done a great job with all the work up till now and until these committees took place. Again, I don't really have anything about it, as she said, so.
Fair enough. Kay, anything else to add? Or are you good? Okay. So, 1 more minute.
Fred brings critical talent too. And we're friends briefly, I think we met picking Dyersburg, but also Fred brings critical talent to the table. He's a commerce civil engineer with expertise in water and water management. So Fred, don't be humble. The happy thing is we've got a partnership. Whoever wins, we're still going to be working hard for our new city. Thanks.
Thank you, Kay. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about priorities because that kind of goes to addressing challenges. You guys both, identified something what you see as a challenge. So let's talk about top 3 priorities. If you're elected, Kay, you start on this one. If you're elected, what would you view as being your top 3 priorities as you take the position?
Number 1 is money. Show me the money. I really rely a lot on my Dutch heritage. If you want something done frugally, I'm your gal. I know how to squeeze money out of a turnip. That's such a thing. But when I was in corporate life, I had $2 and $3 million budgets. Guess what? I always came in under. The rest of the department was counting on me to do that, so those who spent over would be okay. So it's money, it's city services, the whole panoply of municipal services that are required by statute. How do we deliver? How do we pay? We're in the process of creating beneficial relationships with the county. The time is short, but I have confidence we could do that. And the third, I really want to work on communications with the community. The candidates have been working on a shared value statement. I want to spread that out to the community and get the community involved in that. So the only way you know where you're going is to look ahead, have a vision, share it, and act on it when they're making the day-to-day decisions. So thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, same question. We'll talk challenges. Now, what would you say would be your top 3 priorities if you're elected?
Well, I'll put them in top 5. So which committees I mentioned again, planning and zoning, IT, public works, finance and admin, public safety. Those are the 5 priorities that we got to bring to the table right away. And we organize that because it makes sense. And I'll just mention, I'm a licensed civil and environmental engineer of Utah in 4 other states, and 40 years of experience as an engineer. This is a project, okay? And this is the kind of thing I have experience doing in my 4-year career. Basically solving problems for clients, and that's what we got here. We got a little problem. It's kind of a big problem, but that's an opportunity for us, and that's what we're doing. So it's 5 things that you have, bring the task, and that's 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Okay. Any responses you want to add? Anything you want to add on this particular topic as far as priorities go?
I agree with Fred on one thing I didn't mention. That's planning. But I feel confident because we have Jana Balker and a team who's been working on that for over a year. So we've got knowledgeable experts lined up, and I'm confident, Janet, that if we do things right, we'll be able to implement and administer all those great plans we've been working on.
Thank you. Fred, do you have a minute for any additional thing? You do know this one? Okay, let's move on to the next question. Fred will get to respond to this one first. Let's talk about leadership and administration. Okay, since both of you, so whoever's elected will clearly be important. Those skills will clearly be important as you get things going. So, what skills and experience do you bring that make you qualified for this position?
Yeah, it is important. So we're going to have 6 people, a mayor, and five other city council members that a lot of them didn't know each other until now. Until these last few months. Now we know each other pretty well. So we've been hanging out a lot. But that team's got to work together very well. I have how I did that over my 4-year career. I've been a partner, started off as a project engineer taking orders and, working my way up the ranks. I've been a partner, vice president at 2 different firms, big national firms, one of the most successful environmental firms in the history of environmental engineering, I think. So I have a track record I can point to that, I've worked with people and I've succeeded with teams, and this is what I'll do. So.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, your turn to talk about what skills and experience you bring to.
Well, I make one good sourdough bread. Sometimes they announce, but on the professional side, I'm a qualified, experienced, and tested candidate. Qualified because I have over 40 years of acting as an attorney and a business executive in all kinds of different situations. I have done jury trials. I've done bench trials. I've advised cities and schools in the public sector. I've advised large companies, everything from Motorola to United Airlines. I really loved the small cities that we served, the universities I served in private practice. I would ask for experience. One of the neat things about legal skills is you get tapped. If you're good and if you go in-house, you get tapped to do a lot of different things. So I did everything from helping to start up a new regional cable TV station in Chicago. I got tapped to go do high-level investigations of ethics in harassment issues. And I helped teams lick the envelopes and put the stamp on things that we had to go send out to employees for various notices. So I've done everything from soup to nuts. And tested. I think 3 bars are enough. I don't want to take another bar, but I've been in tough pickles. I appreciate solving problems and challenges, and I'm sure many will like it.
Thank you, Kay. Brett, a minute or anything else you want to add?
The only thing I want to add is that I have experience working for municipalities. I've always been in the private sector in my 4-year career, but I worked with municipalities, from Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Authority to Detroit, Wayne County Airport Authority to O'Hare Airport, which is City of Chicago, SeaTac up in Seattle. So a lot of experience with governmental entities or agencies. And that's important because we are now, we're a governmental agency, we have to work with the state, or in the county, and I have experience in, working with people in those governments, in those departments. That's what we're going to need to do here.
Thank you, Fred. Kenny, what's going to happen? Any final thoughts on this? Okay. Let's move on to the next question then. This is one that I know has been on the topic of some people. Many residents have expressed concerns about conflicts of interest. some of which could be legal with lawsuits, professional with business connections, or personal with individual relationships. So I have a two-part question for both of you. The first question is very simple. Do you currently have any conflicts of interest that voters should know about? And second, if elected, how would you handle your duties if you faced a conflict of interest? Okay, your first one.
Thank you. This is one of my really highly important issues, is we've seen conflicts of interest among the county commissioners. My husband actually tracked down those conflicts and courageously confronted the person who had those in public hearings. So we know there are gaps in the state and local law. So I'm very committed to this, investigated these things when I was in-house. I am somewhat proud to say I am the only candidate who declared a conflict of interest, potential conflict, on our candidate declarations. I have served for 5 years as president of the Wolf Creek Master Homeowners Association. And we have been in litigation, which I have been a significant part of defending regarding the Wolf Barn property. And I foresaw if that comes up and I'm elected, there will be conflict. But I do something about conflicts, which I think people should be required to do. Today, I resign from that position with the acceptance of the board, and I will continue to work with them through transition. But I also think we need a strong ethics code that has teeth in it, and we are working to draft that right now.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, same question for you. Any current conflicts of interest that voters should know about? And if you run into something, you're elected and run into a conflict of interest, how would you handle it?
Yeah, no conflicts at all. I have my own small engineering firm, which is me right here. And my work is all out of the valley. So I have and I don't have any interest in growing it. Just do, some work. Just, myself and some other part-time employees, contract employees. So I have no conflicts. If anybody does in the future, they should recuse themselves. That's one of the things that you'll see on my campaign material out there is that we need to have a strong conflict of interest policy for our new government. And then we'll come up, and people will have a conflict. They just need to disclose that and recuse themselves from the matter, and away you go. And something else I'll add is, as a professional engineer, that's a strong component of what we do is a conflict of interest check that we have to do on every project, and I've done it throughout my career. So I'm used to operating with a lot of conflict of interest.
Say, Fred, Kay, final thought.
A final thought. I was listening to the prior debate, and one of the candidates said, everyone has conflicts of interests. No, they don't. There are policies and ways to identify potential conflicts and actual conflicts. And I frankly took exception to that statement, and I think it reflects poorly on how a certain candidate has handled and might handle conflicts in the future. So with a strong policy, I think we'll be able to provide better guidance than has been followed.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, any additional anything out of that topic? Okay, so let's move on to the next question. This is one we touched on at the beginning, of course, because we've got to touch on it, because running a city takes money. So let's talk budgeting. So we're going to start with, how do you plan, as part of the council, to address the city's income needs? Fred, we're going to start with you.
Sorry, was it just income means, yeah, for the city. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not on the finance committee. Dave, we get reports and we have our council meetings, and they're doing a fine job of getting after things. And we're going to need some financing, and my understanding is that a gap funding or perhaps a bond of some type that's a low interest bond. So that it's not my area of expertise, but I'm sure we'll get that, and we'll be able to operate our government, kind of on the skinny, so we can, take care of the essential things like the snow removal. We're most, concerned about. We've got a whole variety of, in each one of these committees, we have a stoplight chart that anybody can go look at, by the way. And then you have priorities for things that should be addressed. Snow removal obviously is one, so it's going to start like January 5th or whatever. So we need funding for that, and we will get that funding in common.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, same question. We're talking about budgeting, so how do you, as part of the city council, if you're elected, plan to address the city's income needs?
You bet. We were working on this for 18 months. And thanks to some valiant volunteers, we have pretty solid projections of what our income will be. Contrary to rumors, the city does not start out on faulty footing. Yes, there is a shortfall based on changes of actuals versus projections that were done in the feasibility study, but looking at the best projection we have, thanks to a certain volunteer who shall remain nameless, we should be collecting roughly 4.2 million during our first year of operations. Our projected expenses, again, it's projected 4.4. 300,000, we can find that. First of all, you manage your budget smartly. You don't get things that would be nice to have. You get things that you must have. That's a priority. Plus, items were not considered in the feasibility study include many resources for our income. Grants, state, federal, and private. I hear there are some wealthy people at the top of the mountain. Impact fees, franchise fees, transient room taxes, and other types of fees and impact fees and other sources where we can make up the short fund. If you know how to write grants, please volunteer.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, any final thoughts, or you agree, disagree, anything else you want to add? Okay. I know you were kind of at the end of your time. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on the subject? Yes. Okay.
Debt seems like it's a nasty word, but it's the way businesses actually create more than they can do immediately with their cash flow. And I expect the city will have some choices as well about how to do financing for such projects. The other thing is the statute anticipates that new cities will get some kind of debt coming. And it's really one of the best ways is advances against taxes that are expected to be collected. It's not controversial. We're already working with the Zions on this. But I think we're still going to ask the county to give us a loan. Interest-free, like Tooele County just did for Lake Point City that got started. We'll have them give Tooele a call and see how that rolls out.
Thank you, Kate. Again, to start on the next question, because now we're going to go from income, naturally, to segue to spending. So how should the city best spend the tax money that's brought in, and how should it make sure residents understand how the money is being spent?
Okay, first priority, snow. We want to make sure that that type of essential service is really well covered. And then we will look beyond that, setting up important things like getting some of our new ordinances reviewed by top legal talent, making sure that our insurance is paid. So if and when we do get sued, we're covered. And we're already in talks to do that very thing. So we'll do the normal types of things to secure the essential things that we need. What was the question again?
Just about spending, how the city spends money, and how should they make sure the residents are aware of how the money is spent.
The second part, thank you. Awareness of how the money is spent. Transparency. Transparency is key. Open meetings. Plus, I went to the League of Cities and Towns convention last week, and we're all about what's necessary to go through when they increase taxes. I have no plans to do that. That's up to the residents. But there's a procedure called truth in taxation that is required before a tax increase is levied. I think we should do that annually so people understand what their taxes are and how they are being spent. We found in transition a lot of people did not understand their property tax bills. That's part of it. We need education on such items.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, same question to you. Just about spending, how the city should spend millions and then making sure to be transparent for the rest.
Okay, yeah, so it should definitely be transparent. We'll have, talked about snow removal, just thinking of the public works, the things that we're going to have to pay for right away. Snow removal, road maintenance, longer term road maintenance, that's going to pop up in OVI 2.0, but OVI 1.0. We're going to need some engineering because we're going to take over the permitting for our area. So we're in the process of interviewing engineering firms and getting ready to send out an RFP, request for proposal. We will have legal. So these are essential services that we got up and running. Those we think you can spend on, and it'll be a transparent situation that that any residents can see.
Thank you, Fred. Kay, 1 more minute to add anything that you want on this subject, or are you good? Okay, Fred, everything you said you want to say on this one? Okay, all right, let's move on to the next question. This is one that I know a lot of people in the area have brought up, and we're going to talk about growth because it's clearly one of the biggest issues. How do you intend to balance the potential differing views on maintaining quality of life, private property rights, and appropriate development? Every conflict in those three things. Fred, we're going to start with you on this particular topic.
Yeah, it's like probably an hour discussion, but just to try to make it succinct, we need development to a certain extent. I mean, you have to have an economy that's viable. I think that if you look at communities you've all seen in our country, you've seen them in other countries, abilities suffer unless they don't have viable economy, and that leads to some really bad things. So we want a good economy, we need some development, we need to follow our Ogden Valley General Plan, which sets the vision for our valley, and then follow our zoning and ordinances, and do that in concert with our vision, okay? And so we will have some development. We have natural resources concerns. Everybody's heard a bunch about water. It's an area that I have some particular expertise in. And, if we don't have water for new people, what do you do about that? We can talk about that more later.
Thanks, Fred. Katie, same question. Again, I brought up 3 different things that can be in conflict: maintain quality of life, private property rights, and appropriate development. How do you approach those potential conflicts?
Right. This valley has dealt with those things for years. And a wonderful balance was struck in the 2016 general plan, which many of you may have worked on. I recommend they can read it. But it strikes the balance. The question is, though, how do you implement that? It was not fully implemented under our prior administration by the county. General plan needs to be codified and endow it with the power of law. We need to write the ordinances that will implement it. And what's really fun is we really should update the general plan. there are ways to do it. We get grants. Weaver State Planning Department is diving to help us. Perfect projects for the students as well as the faculty. Let's get down to it also. It's all about the water. And so as part of our growth strategy, we have to put water first. No one gets on an agenda to consider if you develop it before the city until they show they have the water available, and as they call it, wet water. And also the way we should put the valley folks and farmers first. Developers come secondary, those are big plans. We should not be subsidizing the developers, they have to pay their way. And I think the statutory framework would keep water fights out of the courts. We hope.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, additional thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, right on, okay, it's water, roads, wastewater, that's infrastructure that has to come with the development, okay? They have to have the ability to have all those things that they don't have the roads. Well, that's, impact fee, they should share if you haven't heard that, not as taxpayers share or what is. So, I just want to point that out, is we should look very future development that does have wastewater, adequate wastewater capacity, any road infrastructure improvements would need to be part of what they would be funding, in my opinion.
Thank you, Fred. Can't run out of time just before. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Tim? All right, perfect. Let's go on to the next question. This touches on one we've been touching a little bit on before, but I think it's an important one because there have been plenty of challenges between Ogden Valley and other local and state governments, particularly Weber County. Talked about that, obviously. But obviously also there needs to be a partnership there because the city is still part of Weber County. So how do you plan to work with the county as well as state and other area city governments? Okay, you get to the first shot at it.
This is a hard one. We've had our challenges in the past with the county, and frankly, we all need to make amends, put that behind us, and look to the future. I am proud to say I have been incessant in trying to meet with the county. Starting in March, on behalf of the transition team, I wrote to the commissioners and asked to start meeting. I said, we have 150 volunteers who are working away. We have people from the League of Cities and Towns helping us. We have former city managers helping us. The answer is they wanted to wait till the election was over. Well, that won't give us enough time. I then tried through my friends in the law department, and one of the senior managers there, with the acquiescence of the commissioners, met with us, started doing some preliminary discussions and planning. And I actually felt that. They didn't realize that we are on a different schedule for certification of the city than their experience with Marriott Slaterville. So we woke up the sleeping bear. Shanna had mentioned a meeting that was quite spicy, August 18th. They were just realizing they need to wake up. So we can have really good, strong professional relationships with commissioners as well as with other cities. And actually, we're meeting with Commissioner Bolus tomorrow afternoon, to talk about how we get started. Thanks.
Thank you, Kay. Brett, Richard, to answer this question, obviously complicated.
Yeah, Kate's been doing a great job trying to get the county to work with us. We kind of get Stonewall up till now. They will come over, we can work with them. I have been in the past talked with engineers of the county, and recently with Sean about the basic management contract, we got that figured out just fine. So I know once the curtain goes up or comes down, whatever, that we'll have good communications with people that work there, the engineers and layers and so forth, to make things happen. And I've had plenty of experience working with municipalities and authorities and so forth, and get along with those folks. While it's once you can get down to focusing on, what the issue is, and solving that issue, get past the politics, which that's what we're running into, or flat, we're running into right now. So we'll get there.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, I don't know if we can direct anything more about your county or other governments as well, because the city does have work with state honesty and other cities.
Sure. We've already had great relationships with the state, the LG, the Lieutenant Governor's office, the Department of Taxation. Thanks to Ron over there, thinks we're ahead of the game of any city that they've worked with. So we get kudos wherever we go, thanks to our volunteers. I also want to mention, we talk with other cities, Marriott Slater Bill has been consulting with us for at least a year. Yes, I have to disclose a conflict. My cousin is the mayor. He will no longer be the mayor. He's got family. He owns the gift shop, pawn shop down on 25th Street. He's also known as the mayor of 25th Street. But he went through the incorporation 20 years ago. He knows the ropes. And purportedly, he's the commissioner whisperer. They listen when Scott talks. So Scott has offered to help us forge through some of the lying issues with the commissioners.
Thank you, Kate. Same question from you, Fred. If you want to address a little further.
At the
Space level and other levels.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just mention that my experience working with state governments has been through ASCE, which is American Society of Civil Engineers. They have something called a legislative fly-in, where once a year the members get together with a small group and meet with the representative of their district, Lake Moore, and then meet with Senator Romney at the time, and Senator Lee with the folks. We actually shook hands with Senator Romney, I have to say. But I've done that. We go in and advocate for infrastructure, things that the Civil Engineering Society would promote, things that us in the country would like, roads, bridges, dams, waterways, and things of that nature. We would present that kind of list of things that the society Bowie to those governmental offices, and hopefully, talk to them about it, and hopefully,
Thank you, Fred.
So those, are we losing our winning?
There's one right in front of Kay.
Yep.
Okay,
You have it. Oh, sorry. We're good. We're all right. That's why we were just using one before, so we can make that work. All right. Yep, that one's working for now. We'll see how long it lasts. So we might be going to the no microphone if we run out of batteries. But okay, trying to get an answer. We've gone through the questions that I had that were more in depth. We're going to go back and forth. So the next questions that we have will be more of the short answer. We'll give each candidate a chance to respond to the question, and then we'll move on to the next question. This is one that we've touched on already, but I want to address the why of it. Fred, I'm going to ask you this first. Should the new city adopt the existing general plan or create a new one, and why?
Yeah, that's easy. So, any successful project, you need a vision, and you need a plan, and you need a work plan. So, I'm a big fan of the general plan, which has a vision in there. A number of them actually pointed out. Janet's been working on this thing. I've been working with her on the committee for quite some time, commenting on the various sections and things that we should take down and leave in and whatnot. And so we absolutely need that general plan, because it then sets the stage for the codes and the ordinances that will be quicker to follow. Very important. I think also important that down the road, in OVI 2.0, as I call it, that we reopen that and put it out to all the residents and get comments on it and see what we might want to tweak again. As Janet mentioned in her debate earlier, that it had been over 10 years since that was revisited, and we need to take it over.
Thank you, Fred. Kate, you can address this a little bit. be able to answer a little bit of the why.
My answer is Belfast.
Well, that was quick. All right. So we're going to drill down a little bit and go a little bit more in depth because part of the plan, obviously, is ordinances and zoning. And so let's talk a little bit about that because the city will have seats to make about ordinances and zoning, of course. So how should current zoning areas be handled and what should be changed? Okay, the first shot of this question.
Sure. We have found that one of the most valuable things we have to manage growth and development are the zones. And I see very little reason to change the existing zones. I would like to consider more whether we change, and I always forget the name of this, the overlay zone, the master overlay zone, because it's kind of like a Trojan horse. Once the commissioners approve the master overlay zone, it can hold a lot more than anyone bargained for, which we've seen with Nordic. I think the specific zones are probably more protective of the valley as we want to see it grow. The other thing I think that we need to be mindful of, some of the developments that have particularly sparked this community are the result of too liberal decisions in changing the zones. Each of those controversial developments involved a change in zoning. And I sometimes joke that some of our predecessor governors, commissioners, never met a new zoning proposal they didn't like. And so I think we have to be very cautious about changing zones willy-nilly.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, same question, addressing zoning and ordinances and what should be accepted, what should be changed?
Yeah, I mean, I like our zoning that we have in the valley. I don't see a need to change things. I think we should adopt that going forward. And, look, I'm a big believer in democracy. I'm a big believer in following the rules. And you don't just change the rule because you have the ability to do that or wiggle around and do something screwy. And it's not right. I mean, you have neighborhoods, you move into neighborhood. I moved into my neighborhood. I paid attention to the covenants and the county rules and such, and I follow those. Okay, I will try to do something different. And I just think you should do that, or recall it. And you don't like the zoning? Well, sorry, it's the way it's the way it's zoned. You should put a grocery store in a residential neighborhood that's not zoned. She wanted to do that, so that's what I did.
Thank you, Trey. You get the first shot at this next question, which is a specific issue that I've seen brought up, and it's brought up a lot of places in the state, and that is, how should the city address the benefits and challenges of short-term rentals? Because I know a lot of people have very strong opinions about that. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I had a condo in Wolf Creek when I first came out here that housed short-term rentals, and I knew, do that, but I bought it, and it was part of my plan. So again, that's like follow the rules, It wasn't something that was not allowed. I tried to do. Okay, I did the short-term rentals. I paid the tax, the transient tax on that, so forth. I figured out how to do that, did all that. And I don't own that condo anymore, but I think it's an important part of our valley because of the ski resorts and the ski industry. I think that's something we need to have to help support that, and that's part of the valley that we love, I believe. And so I think it makes sense where it makes sense. It doesn't make sense where it doesn't make sense. My neighborhood doesn't allow shade-term rentals. Once in a while, somebody tries to pull that off, and we might talk to them about it. But, I know there's some neighborhoods, bridges, they do allow short-term rentals. That's the way it is there. I don't think that's right. I think residential neighborhoods should be residential neighborhoods. And in the future, I would hit very hard in any residential neighborhood that's planned, that's in a tribal hour short units.
Thank you, Fred. Kay, let's have you address the short-term rental issue.
Okay, here you go. Hard property rights disputes. One would think you own property, you should have a right to rent it, use it any way you can. However, when we live in communities, there are rules that start applying. And so that is how and why STRs need to be governed. It's to promote neighborhoods that are neighborhoods, and so that it doesn't destroy their character, but it's also to allow it where it fits into that part of the community. I am very firm. STRs have a place, it ain't in the neighborhoods. Jan Fulmer, wherever she is, and I all worked in 2020, trying to secure reform of the county's ordinances on STRs. Thanks to Jana, there was a lot of research done, and after a lot of foot dragging, they got a new ordinance established. Not the best, but pretty good. I would like to go back and examine that, examine best practices in Utah and elsewhere, and see if we can tweak that out. One final word. This is part of our business economy. We have to leverage tourism. We have to make sure we do it in a wise and smart way. We need to enforce the rules, increase license fees, which are minimal here, and have a good enforcement system. Thanks.
Thank you, Kay. You get to be the first up on the next question of the year. And this is one, again, another one we touched on. The storm over the weekend, we've got snow on the top of the mountains, and so we know winter's coming. And I know that a lot of residents have brought up, okay, how do we deal with it? What does the city need to do to address the snow plow, road maintenance, here particularly early on as the city's getting rolling? So, Kay, you can address this one first.
Okay. Snow and roads. It's likely inevitable the county will be plowing. They come up here, they have other areas where they must plow, their supplies are up here for salt. So we just have to have some smart negotiations. We're also getting what we call Plan B and C in case we have difficulty getting the county to provide services at a reasonable price. But what about the roads? Fred would probably be able to speak to this better, but I looked at road maintenance, and it appears Beaver County is using one of the least cost-effective methods, old-fashioned tar systems to repair and build roads. There are all kinds of new technologies that have a longer lifespan, that actually do some recycling of materials, the actual road base, and use other materials. So in roads, I think we can do it better, more economically, and really guide our road repair system and maintenance system based on local interests and concerns.
Thank you, Kay. Fred, your turn to address the snow and road maintenance question.
Okay, in regards to the road issues that Kay just said about the road, she's absolutely right. There's better techniques, and I'm not a road engineer myself, but I do think that we can make improvements there. But that's OVI 3.0. That's not OVI 1.0 and 2.0. We need to, worry about kind of keeping the lights on in these things and the snow removal. That's in my public works committee, and even though Beaver County is not talking to us right now, I just got to leave. We're going to work something out there because what are they going to do with all the people that do that work? You live all lot. What do you do with all their equipment? So it behooves them, it behooves us to work out a deal on snow removal. I'm sure we'll do that. If for some strain fleers and we can't, well, we're working on some plan Bs that, I can fill you in.
Thank you, Fred. You're up next on the another hot topic that people have mentioned multiple times, and that's the name of the new city. I know that that's something that people that matters to people. So, how do you view that? Do you have a preference, and how do you believe it should be approached?
Yeah, so I've given this almost zero thought until this afternoon when I read the paper before I came here. There was an article by some folks. I didn't see any names in there, but it looked very thoughtful what they had done about kind of approaching the issue and get to a name. And, you know, I just feel like it's probably going to be some kind of democratic process that we end up doing where we, you know, vet it and people get a chance to vote or something. I'm sure it's not going to be like, you know, Janet or Shanna picks the name when they become mayor or it becomes mayor. I'm sure there'll be input, plenty of time for input for people. Personally, I don't really have, I'm sure that group will do a fine job picking a name. I'm not getting much
Thank you. So we'll be on 1.0, 2.0, you're not pushing those, what you're saying. Okay, okay. Kate, your thoughts on the naming question?
We've got so many other fish to fry. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I heard one of the other candidates last week said it. It was Dan would say, we need to bring the same intensity people seem to have around this leaning issue to the city startup. We need volunteer energy on all fronts, commissions, committees to license. That being said, whatever the people want, I think we should be prepared if it goes up to an election. Some people will not be happy. So the challenge is, I don't think you can lose old people here if we look at the name. I like tipping the hat to the history of this valley. Ogden Valley is a traditional name. That's what we called it when we lived down in Ogden. When I was a kid, we lived down in Ogden. We talked about coming up here to swim or fish. So whatever, we'll see what names surface.
Thank you, Kate. All right, you're up on this question. And then this one's more of a broad perspective. I want to get some of your guys' perspectives on the role that you're running for. Okay, so my question is, what do you see as being the most important roles of being on the city council? Chance to share some of your vision. Kate, you're going to start with this one.
The most important role, I think, is to first establish a culture on the planning commission of cooperation and collaboration so that we welcome the best ideas, we put them on the table, and we can really see what are the most innovative solutions to the questions that face us. At the same time, this valley has an abundance of riches, and it ain't just the natural resources, it's our talent, which has been overwhelming in the 2 years I've worked on your corporation. And so I think we should work together to get all those talented folks who've been elected, but also to involve other people throughout the valley who have so much to offer. We need to bring them in, make them a part of the process, and make sure we create a truly collaborative culture in the valley where all can contribute to feel like it's not just them who are running the governments. It's us. That's us, Ogden Valley, or whatever the name may be.
Thank you, Kate. Brett, same question. What is your vision as far as what the most important roles of being on the city council?
Yeah, I think it's, understanding where you can benefit most, given your skill sets. You've all involved in different skill sets, and then applying oneself in that direction, and maybe not in all directions, maybe in certain areas, and let other people that are better at other things do those other things. And that really seems how this group of 11 is working. It's really impressive to me with bringing these different talents in with different backgrounds. You know, Peggy was a school teacher, Tia, different background, engineer, attorney, Colonel Don, you know, retired Air Force colonel, engineer background. So all these different backgrounds. He works for City of Farmington. He's usually helpful on a public works committee. So figuring out, you know, who has the skill sets and applying them in the right area, that's the important thing. And then I really like Kay's idea of, you know, where can we have some other committees and people that aren't here tonight, and people that aren't here though are the part-time residents in the valley, that they should have a voice too. And, you know, there's a lot of really intelligent people that are part-time residents in the valley that would benefit this new government if we brought them to the table. And I know they would love to stand up and help and put their voice out there. So that's something that I can see us doing.
Thank you, Fred. One more vision question. What is your vision for the valley's look and feel 5, 10, 20 years down the road?
I hope it's the same now that we have now. You know, I love telling people that we don't have any stoplights here. You know, wouldn't that be wonderful? Maybe we get a couple of roundabouts or turnstiles and no stoplights, and we have the same beautiful valley that we can look across and see Bend Almond Peak with the snow, like we did, you know, this week. A week ago, Sunday, I hiked to the top with my two of my boys, and first time we did that. It's been a 20-year goal for us, and we finally did that. And then I get up on Sunday mornings covered with snow, and you know, to be able to see that, not see a bunch of houses up there, some silly development thing that doesn't make any sense. That would be my vision, that we can, you know, live back in the valley in harmony and have a sustainable development that we all appreciate and we care about each other. And if we do that, I think we can achieve that goal.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, you're going to talk about this.
I was real excited when the candidates all agreed that one of our first things we do together is create a vision. Share a vision. Some people thought, oh, this is the last thing I want to do. I don't want to think about snow plowing and all the other stuff. But it's really helping us, and we're all ending up totally on board with it. So I don't take credit with it for this, like any good idea. I think we all thought of it together. I want us to be, and what your candidates want this to be, the model mountain town that got it right. How do we do that? We want to be the model that other mountain towns in this country, maybe again in South America, Europe, come here to see how we did it. How we're going to do it is we are going to be the embodiment of the general plan. We will see how the general plan has been implemented. We preserved the rural feel, and look, the open spaces. And our agriculture will be one of the engines that keeps this valley solvent. And we're going to do a lot of leveraging, building businesses, activities, recreation, not just around our skiing, but also around our agricultural heritage and the history that bounds in this valley. In a nutshell, we're going to build around what makes this valley so very special. In terms of businesses, restaurants, we'll be using local products. We're going to get a lot of local farm to table. And how are we going to manage that shoulder season? Well, if we ever do a city hall, I think we should have space for pop-up restaurants in there. So those people don't have to go to the year-round brick and mortar places. but we get some creative options to stay at the Valley for dining. So, and finally, I hope we get one community facility where you can all get together as one Valley. So, a lot the future holds, and the future's so bright, you gotta wear shades.
Okay, this is my last question. And I've got to say, I do tremendously respect you two have for each other. I think it's fantastic. You applauded each other. One of your answers was just what Brett said. But at the same point, you're both running for the same position. And so this is a chance to address what differentiates you from your opponent. What do you bring to the table that differentiates you? Kate, you to begin on this question.
As my sainted mother-in-law used to say when she watched Notre Dame play just about any other college team, it's too bad they can't both win. But I think District 3 is winning. Look at, we even coordinated our best. This is wonderful. We'll keep picking Dyer's Road together. But I think, what differentiates us is in part our professional backgrounds. There's a little bit, I've been working this stuff a little longer, have a few more wrinkles because of that. But I do think having a lawyer on staff who can manage this stuff, and I've been immersed, this is the Utah Code, and there are tabs, and I've been really studying, working in that, and I feel quite confident. I have a really solid grasp of the laws that will be applied to us. So that is a distinctive difference. The other thing is I've seen this start from the days of the sponsors through petition gathering. I was the campaign manager. It really worked from soup to nuts from day one on the transition team. So I have a great appreciation for all the work that's been done by volunteers there.
Thank you, Kate. Fred, what differentiates you as a candidate?
Well, I would campaign for Kate via the general counsel for NPI 1.0. So I'm just saying, I mean, look at her preparation there. I mean, she's got both color coded. She's got it all there. I know she's been through powers and duties, which carried her with her copy, so I'm way through it. But so the difference is, legal versus an engineer. And they come about things differently. We're trained as engineers to solve problems, following codes, and principles, and do it ethically. Sorry, how we're trained. Legals, when they come about it for liability, litigation for clients, and so forth. So it's a different book. And you guys get to decide which one you want.
Well, that wraps up the question portion of our debate. To wrap up this evening, we'd like to give each candidate 3 minutes to provide a closing statement on anything that they want to address, anything they want to reiterate from our conversation. Fred, you get to be the first on the hot seat, so here you go.
All right, thanks a lot for your EDA tonight. Doing a great job with this. This has been it's been fun. One thing I did want to say is that I do think we do need more local services for our community. Restaurants or shops and stuff. And I do think the stress local business. And my campaign email is fred@keepovlocal.com. So that probably stresses my underlying supports. I think our local community, our local businesses, and I think those should expand. And we're a big fan of them. So, as closing, I wanted to say that back in July, Utah Representative Jason Kyle, he was interviewed, had an article in the paper, but they asked him, what are the important qualities for a candidate? And he said, for the mayor or city council, he said, he pointed to integrity, transparency, ability to listen, ability to collaborate, and competency. And I would submit that I check all those boxes. I think what I talked about today with you all, I think you could agree. I hope you would agree that I can check all those boxes and I can be a fine candidate for your here as the first city council member for District 3. District 3's a lot of District 3 or a lot of folks like Kay and I are there. And so I think we kind of both have the heartbeat of our constituency in District 3, but I represent everybody in our valley. You know, I'm a big fan of farmers. My sister has a horse farm in Idaho. My father-in-law has a cattle farm in Virginia. I love the farmers we have here. I think that, we need to look to work and help them more where they need help. Okay, I think that's something we can do effectively as a little city. Like campaign material on the table out there, red, white, blue, not the green one, don't go to the green table, but the white and blue table. And got a little flyer and a summary of my positions. There's a QR code at the bottom that you can hit up with your camera and go to my Facebook webpage and find more. Email me if you have any more questions. I appreciate the opportunity to take some of your time tonight and talk to you about our future.
Thank you, Fred. Kay, your turn for a closing statement.
Sure. I do want to open this by giving tribute. Yes, I am part of the GRP, right, Bobby? That's my son over there, our son, Rob O'Brien, a lawyer. We have strong lawyers in our family. Everyone in the household except the dogs, really. But I want to give tribute to my mother, who lived to 100. She would have been 101 tomorrow. And when I was considering running, which didn't happen until May, when I was telling every other person, please run, I realized that telling them is going to take a lot of time. And it's going to be a steep learning curve. I realized I was just ready by it. So I started the arena, and Mother said, go for it. In wonderful, energetic enthusiasm. That's the kind of person she was, built on the history of her own mother, who got on a boat from Amsterdam in about 1905, stepped off the train and wondered what on earth had she done. She had lived in a fancy city, and the streets in Ogden were full of mud, but it worked out. It worked out. So salute to the ladies of the Van Leeuwen family. What I want to bring to this government is vision and leadership. I was so fortunate to work in my role. I got to meet people who invented the South. It was a culture of innovation, and it was a culture of leadership. And I was taught there and learned, leaders take you where you never thought possible. They push innovation. They think of different ways of doing things. And they build great teams as a result, and they build great organizations. So I'm hoping that we build a true culture of leadership, not just for our council members, but also provide effective leadership for the Valley. What I stand for, transparent and ethical governance. I have lived that. I had to investigate that. I know the difference. One of the things I love about the look, uncompromising integrity and constant respect for people. Values everyone knew from the dock where the phones were shipped all the way to the executive suite. Smart growth that protects our valley's character. And frankly, going back to my Dutch roots, fiscal discipline. We're going to pinch every penny we can. So I hope all of these candidates and whoever is elected prove worthy of your confidence. And your job is not over. Once those people are elected, we all need to step up and help the new city be the place that we can, the model around in town that people say they got it right. So let's do it.
Thank you. Before I close, I do want to say thank you one more time to the transition team volunteers that set up this debate. Also, special thanks to Angela for keeping us on track by showing all of the times to make sure we continue the debate going. And finally, thanks to you all for being here, and especially to the candidates, to Fred and Kay for sharing your vision, sharing your thoughts about the various issues that we addressed tonight. So thank you guys for being here. Everybody,